Hello, hi everyone. I'm Nabi Guba, and thanks for joining this session where we are going to present what we call the integration journey. So first of all, a quick introduction about who we are. So my name is said Nabi Guba. I'm an enterprise architect, especially focused on data and integration domains at Groupe Rocher. Groupe Rocher is formerly known as Groupe Rocher, is a French family group, initially markets herbal and cosmetics, but now is active on many other sectors. Cosmetics, as you can see on the screen, cosmetics, clothing, home care, and well-being. Groupe Rocher is composed by several brands. Yves Rocher, which is the main one, Dr. Pierrico, Arbonne, Petit Bateau for clothing, and Stanom, Kiotis, and so on. Groupe Rocher is also present in nearly 150 countries. The group is present in all the is present in all these countries by one or more of its brands. Groupe Rocher is a mission-driven company. It adopted this status from 2019, and its mission is reconnect people to nature. This mission reconnect people to nature. This mission-driven company status allows commercial companies to formally pursue one or more social and environmental objectives as part of their activities. This mission is deeply rooted in our company's products, services, and experiences, using the benefits of nature to deliver well-being. This is a small context about a small presentation about Groupe Rocher and what we do at Groupe Rocher. So let's jump to the next session where I introduce what is the context of this integration journey, why we talk about the integration journey, and just to make sure that everyone understand that integration journey is not a technical stuff. It's not a technical topic. It's I would say it's a buzzword in order to make people in the company understand how to move forward with integrations and how to implement integrations. So the context for putting in place this integration journey is the fact that companies are still using traditional point-to-point integration in batch mode. Even major companies are still using this point-to-point integration, majorly based on file exchange. Or direct ETL integrations between source and target applications. Limits of this legacy way of doing integration are now reached, and I think everyone in the company understand this. They all understand that doing this integration this way is really how I would say has been, but they see the real pain point of this point-to-point integration using batch modes, which generates a lot of, I would say, build and run costs, and moreover gives the spaghetti aspect of the information system. However, to move from point-to-point integration mode to modern integration patterns like event-driven architectures, APIs, asynchronous exchange, and so on, is not one-step move. Okay, it's not a change that we do from day to another, but it's really a journey. And the main challenge of applying this journey is to ensure that different teams that you have and that we have in the company with different skills are really taking this journey. So the challenge is not on technical parts. So the challenge is not really on tools, because most of the companies can buy tools and can also buy integration skills, but it's not really on the tools, not in technical parts. But the challenge is to change people's mindset in the company and make them join this transformation journey. So what is the integration journey? It's a set of principles and ways of working to allow a smooth move to modern integration patterns. So just to keep this in mind, the integration journey is a set of principles and some methodology or a way of working to start moving from the legacy way of doing integrations to the modern integration patterns. So the integration journey addresses two aspects. Okay, the first aspect is what we call clean interfaces. Clean interfaces is different principles and guidelines and best practices to design interfaces to define how to design interfaces around applications and products. Many of the applications that we can see in companies that are still using legacy way of doing integration, interfaces are really specific to consumers. For example, in one system, you can have many interfaces, for example, which are sending customer data, but in specific format depending on the consumer behind. So this is not really clean interface. Sometimes these interfaces are implementing business logic, specific business logic of consumers in order to adapt to the consumer's format. So for us, this is not clean interfaces. So once we identified and once we started designing clean interfaces and we have these clean interfaces in place, we have the integration journey, which shows how to connect these clean interfaces, in which mode we shouldn't connect these clean interfaces, which pattern should we use to make these clean interfaces communicate between them. So these are two major aspects of the integration journey. So let's start by clean interfaces. Here, I'm not going to detail all the aspects of clean interfaces, but just to give you an idea. And just remember that this presentation is not something with deep technical details in it. It's more to make people which are not integration specialists understand how to start moving to modern integration patterns. So we can say that a component can be application or can be a product. In our context, we call products a set of applications which are supporting, let's say, one business capability. Okay, so it's a group of applications. So a component, a product, or application, we can say that it has a clean interfaces when it has the minimum necessary interfaces to expose its data or function. We can give an example. If we take a product differential application, this application should expose one interface to export all the products. It can be an API to expose all the products. It can be a file, why not? It can be a message, for example, for one product. But the idea is to have one interface to expose all the products in well-defined format, and not many specific exports for every consumer application. This is a simple example on what can be an application with clean interfaces. So at Groupe Rocher, we have many levels. So we have different levels. The lowest level is application level. Okay, and then as I said, we have products which support business capability, which are composed by many applications, and then we have a domain which is a set of products. Okay, so what we try to do to achieve is to have applications, data, and functions exposed via these clean interfaces. For product, at product level, we should have product business capabilities exposed. So business functions exposed, product business functions exposed, and also business objects of these products should be exposed also using business semantic. And we have the same as at domain level. If we try to take a look on the clean interfaces type, we can see that we can group them. Even we can have other types, but usually we have these two major types of interfaces. We have the synchronous and the asynchronous. Synchronous is when generally when you have a consumer or an application calling a service and waiting for a response before continuing to do their processing. Okay, so usually it's querying or command when you send any command over a synchronous call. The asynchronous interface type is when an application generates an event or sends an information, and this application doesn't wait for any response. Okay, the application can continue its processing after sending this information, and the information can be sent through events. Okay, we can have real-time events usually over message broker. Okay, or even files. It can be a small set of data sent via files or something like that. And we also consider the initialization with full batch of data, for example. But here it's only for initialization purposes. Note also that each interface type is suitable for certain type of usages and protocols. We need to make sure that this type of the type of interface that we are using is suitable for the usage. We are not, for example, we avoid exporting all the data via API, for example. We should use some other types of APIs. So this is a quick introduction about clean interfaces and how we adopt this transformation about interfaces around applications and around products. So now that we define the clean interfaces, the idea now is to follow the integration journey to identify and to know how to connect applications through the clean interfaces. So what is the integration journey? So the integration journey is a set of principles and guidelines, okay, that anyone, I would say anyone involved in the integration projects or in the integration topic should master, okay, or at least should know. And then we have let's say 4 steps, okay, from the second one to the fifth one. And these steps are oriented in order to simplify the way of doing integration and to ensure that the pattern and the tools that are used to implement the integration is conform to our guidelines and can help to move to the modern integration patterns. So first, about the principles, I'll just move and list them quickly. So we have these 6 global principles, I would say. First one is to try to use APIs when possible, okay, and not develop something specific. When we have APIs exposed by applications, so try to use them when possible. Second one is to keep business applications loosely coupled. So keep the business logic in the applications. This is the first application of this principle, and also do not do point-to-point integration. Each application should publish its data or publish its events, publish their APIs without knowing the consumers behind. And same for consumers. Consumers should adapt the data they get using integration platform, for example, using transformation and so on. The third principle is when we design or when we create applications, when we implement new applications, for example, homemade applications and so on, we design these applications to transmit and to consume events. Generally, the new applications are now being built with API first approach, but these APIs are more synchronous APIs, as we saw in the previous slide, with command or query APIs. But here the challenge is also to add entry points or entry points in event mode. Another principle, which is real-time integration first. So before, even if the business need is to to have a batch integration, which first try to implement a real-time integration. So we challenge the business, we challenge the need in order to have the detail on why we cannot do real-time integration. So we do the real-time integration first, and then if we cannot, or if the business explain that the real-time cannot be used for business reasons or for technical reasons, then we consider something else. And above these principles, we have the two last principles, which are end-to-end monitoring. We should know for any data which is sent from a system, we should monitor where it goes. If it fails, we should see where it fails and so on. And also end-to-end security. We need to make sure that data and transformations and messages sent between applications is done in a secure manner. Okay, some other global rules. Try to use the real-time first. We already spoke about that, about this one. Asynchronous over synchronous. Try to consider using asynchronous integrations if no immediate business response is needed. Put in place service catalog, API catalog, or event catalog in order to reuse existing integrations. And last point is do integrations around enterprise business data entities and not specific system formats when possible. Okay, so these are the principles. So now, once that we master this type of principles, when we have a business need to create an integration between applications, we collect what we call the integration factors. Integration factors can be in several types. Here we have listed 5. Okay, what is the response mode of this integration? Do we need an immediate response when we call a system or when we send the data to a system? Do we need an immediate response or not? Do we have transformation logic? Are criteria needed to identify how to do the integration. We have also data volume, number of inputs, size of records, number of records. Are these records correlated or not? The frequency of the integration, is the frequency high or low? Do we have any dependencies between this flow and other flows, for example? So all these integration factors should be collected before starting doing any integration. And moreover, I would say most of them are business, even they are not as technical, but they are business data. They are business factors. So once we get these factors, okay, once we get these factors, we move to what we call logical patterns. Okay, so we have identified set of patterns. They are not a lot. We have put, I think, 3 or 4 patterns. Okay, and regarding these patterns, depending on the factors, we are going to use even asynchronous pattern, synchronous pattern, or a batch mode pattern. Okay, in the asynchronous pattern, we have let's say 2 variants: fire and forget or request callback flow. In this case, the source system generates an event and does not block its processing to wait for response. Okay, so I'm source application. If I have any change on any business object in my application, I generate an event. Okay, and I continue my processing. I don't wait to get a response to continue my processing. As you can see in this schema at the right, this mode allows us to have input half flows and output half flows, and the message broker, which is going to be the message transportation layer. And the message broker is the main piece of this asynchronous pattern, because it allows this decoupling between producer applications and consumer applications. And as I said previously, this is the mode that we prefer the most, and we try to push the most. The second mode is the synchronous mode. In this case, the caller sends a request and waits for a response. So the caller process is blocked upon receipt the response, or usually a timer. So in this case, it's quite simple. I'm an application. I need to call an external service. So I call the external service via API, and I wait for a response. Okay, and the last one, which is a batch logic pattern, and here we have two variants: ETL or data transfer or ELT. Okay, and this pattern we consider it when we have multiple inputs, and when multiple inputs are to be reconciled and transformed before being integrated in the target system. Generally, this one also we try to avoid it because it's simple to implement it, and it's like a variant of the point-to-point integration. So we try to avoid it. So we have created this decision chart. So depending on the business factors that we collected, okay, we decide which logical integration pattern we should use. Okay, and here in green you have the preferred ones. Okay, like synchronous, asynchronous, and so on. And in the other color in orange we have the non-preferred one. So we first try, when we apply our principles, our global rules, the idea is to arrive to the green ones. But if it's not possible, in some cases it's not possible to have it. In this case, we use the other pattern, which is the batch pattern. And just to remind you that these logical patterns are here to help someone which is not expert in integration. We can have a designer, we can have a project manager working on the integration topic to understand what is the most suitable pattern. Once we identified which logical pattern we should use, then we have this set of technical patterns for each logical pattern. Okay, and these technical patterns depends on some criteria, like for example the triggering model. How is my flow triggered? Is it on push based, or is it on pull based? Is it scheduled, and so on? And also the technical pattern also depends also on the endpoint type. Am I on file exchange? Am I on API exchange? Am I addressing database? Am I on broker, and so on? So these patterns are they give a high level design of logic pattern to be implemented. So they describe the different components and tools to be used to implement the integration flow. So we have a catalog of all the technical patterns possible that we have at the company. For example, when we know that we have APIs that we should expose APIs for external partners. For example, we have the high level design to apply it. When we know that we can get message from broker, we have the technical integration pattern to use. So these are high level designed for technical implementation, and the developers can use these, and the designers can use these technical patterns to do their integration specifications, and then the developers can start implementing using the correct tools. Because from this technical pattern, we can identify the tools that are going to be used. In our case at Groupe Rocher, we have this stack that you see here in the left. So we have an iPaaS, which is Boomi. We have the API management solution, which is Apigee. We have the NFT solution, which is going well. And one important piece of components also is the message broker, which is Solace, which is really going to give and to support this asynchronous exchange of data, and to really enable this event-driven architecture that we try to push to. And around all this stack, we have a framework for delivery, for CI/CD, framework for logging, and so on. We have a group scheduler also, which is Autosys. And we have a supervision framework, monitoring framework, which is called Hypervision, which is based on Elasticsearch and Kibana stack. So this is the set of this is the integration journey, I would say. Principles and guidelines that we need to understand. We need to apply also when we design the flows, or when we decide how we should how we should create integrations between applications, and then different steps. And in these steps, as you can imagine, we have two or three first steps which can be managed by someone which is not technical at all. Okay, some a designer, a project manager, and so on. And then we have the other parts, which are technical patterns and the tools, which in this case should be managed, should be handled by the integration. So to finish this presentation, I would just to some key takeaways. First of all, we should design clean interfaces around applications and products. If we don't design clean interfaces around applications, even if we apply the integration journey, we can still have this spaghetti aspect of the information system. So first of all, design clean interfaces. Then follow this integration journey. Master the principles. Identify what are the business factors. Identify the logical pattern to apply for the integration flow. Once we identify the logical pattern, the technical pattern can be chosen depending on technical criteria, and then we start implementing using the appropriate tools. And the last important point, which is integration should be treated as first class citizen. In product deployment, here I mentioned product deployment because it's one of our channels here at Groupe Rocher, which is the fastly deploy products as quickly as possible. But main point here is to really consider integration as an important step. It's not the last thing to do in a project. It's not the last part of the project, but it's something really important. And this is how we can move forward from a legacy way of implementing integrations to a really modern architecture, like event-driven architecture, APIs-oriented architecture, and so on. This is my last slide. So I thank you very much for being here, and don't hesitate to ask questions in the chat if possible. Thank you. Bye bye.